Did you know there are two inventions in this room that have revolutionized the world as we know it? And they were created by two extraordinary dyslexic people. The names of these inventors are recognized worldwide, and their accomplishments are praised, but not a lot of people know the origins of the unique way of thinking. These two inventions, the light bulb and the iPhone. Invented years apart, Thomas Edison and Steve Jobs changed the world as we know it. Just like the Wright brothers airplane, Ford's cars, Muhammad Ali's speed, Disney's magic, Da Vinci's artwork, John Lennon's music, Agatha Christie's stories, and JFK landing us on the moon. Conspiracies aside. These dyslexic minds revolutionized and paved the way for incredible works of art and inventions that have changed everything. And there are so many other unique people out there. But not a lot of people know their unique way of thinking and their connection with dyslexia. And there are so many others that would surprise you to know that they share the same way of thinking. And in a world where diversity, equality, and inclusion reign supreme, and being unique and different is the trend, why is dyslexia not a part of this conversation? And how do we change this? For me, as a marketing and brand strategist, it's a perfect opportunity to put my design thinking hat on and start building a story in order to find the solution. Why a story? Well, Steve Jobs said it best. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, the values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. And of course, storytelling has been a part of our society forever, shaping our mind and creativity and understanding as humans. But storytelling is also a very powerful tool to help people understand and remember information without using so much energy to do it. And of course, storytelling has also become very important today in business and marketing and everywhere around us. Steve Jobs pioneered this by looking at the customer as the hero of the story and the brand or the business guiding them past failures to success so they live happily ever after. And he did this by offering us the opportunity to showcase the genius inside of all of us with personal computers and smartphones. As you can see, storytelling has been a very important part of my life, not only for the entertainment aspect, but also for me to dissect and understand the world around me. I remember it like yesterday, sitting on the carpet, watching the Super Bowl, but not for the football, for the commercials. My mind was on fire with this diversity and creativity and imagination that I was seeing, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I grew up. I wanted to work in advertising. I wanted to be a creative director. I also was in love with books. They were rewards for me. I would fall in love with a series and collect all the volumes and fill my shelves with these different worlds and these different stories. But there was a problem. I couldn't read them on my own. And a lot of them stayed unread, just mementos on the wall. And as hard as I tried, it just didn't click. At the age of 6, I was diagnosed with dyslexia, and I was put into a homeschooling group where I entered lots of training and tutors and resource classes, and I just felt stupid and stressed and overwhelmed that I was a big inconvenience on everyone around me. And unfortunately, these feelings never went away. But I learned to combat them. I held them. I bottled them up. I kept them hidden. And when I was in school, I was supported by incredible teachers and an institution where they helped me overcome this. But I felt isolated from my peers. People would question why I'm going into this strange room and what am I doing in there? And I would lie to them. And I kept hidden, but I overcome that and I was able to graduate. But when I finally came out of school, I was put into the real world. And there was no help. There was no helpful teachers. So I had to keep my head down, and I didn't want anybody to find out my secret. I didn't want to be treated differently. So I persevered, I moved on, I held on to my dream, and I succeeded because I had this creativity, this storytelling that was keeping me alive. And I was able to achieve my dreams and do the things that I wanted to do. And I could have not done that without dyslexia. But did you know that nearly 15% of the world's population has dyslexia? That's over 700 million people worldwide. And of course, there's a general understanding of dyslexia, but it's ridden with misconceptions and stereotypes and unconscious bias. Like everyone thinks that we see things backwards or read everything backwards, or dyslexia is a sign of below or average intelligence, or we just don't try hard enough to get better. And no, we're not cured after school. But of course, dyslexia can also give us some very useful skills and give us some benefits in our lives, like we have better sense of spatial relationships, the use of our right brain. We have excellent thinking skills in abstraction and conceptualization and reason. And we can solve complex problems in 3 dimensions. It's the bigger picture perspectives that typical normal people may not see. We may not see the tree in front of us, but we can see the full forest. Now, the neuroscience behind dyslexia is actually very interesting. The way that we think and how we are stems from the amount of energy it takes to send one electrical message from one part of the brain to the other. With dyslexia, it takes 5 times more energy. And that results in the extra time that we need in both thought and in action. So please be patient with us. But not all dyslexia is the same. We come in different shapes and sizes. We have strengths in areas and weaknesses in others. And this is what makes us unique and different. So I get the question a lot of, how does dyslexia feel? Well, let me paint you a little picture. For me, dyslexia is like this forever cloud following me overhead, constantly drawing me into a world of euphoria and creativity and mind-blowing imagination. But the problem is, what's left on the ground is clouded vision and memory and hypercharged concentration, which is what gets us into trouble and makes us look rude and lazy and uninterested. And no, it's not a coincidence that we are forgetting people's names or losing our keys. We hate this about ourselves. And these 2 sides of dyslexia make us feel broken at times. But we're not broken. These moments when we're flooded by these feelings of negativity because of our disability, we need to remember that we can utilize, we can push forward, and we can use the good and the bad of dyslexia to be whoever we want to be. But the bad and these stereotypes around dyslexia give it a bad reputation. And this is why there is this stigma in our society. And if I was to come out now during an interview or to a future boss, I know that I would be judged because of this stigma, and it would prevent me from the opportunities that I deserve. And unfortunately, there are some very negative statistics connected to dyslexia. Like 35% of us are high school dropouts. 34% of us even graduate from college. 52% of us experience discrimination at work, including myself. 70% of us make up the unemployment population. 46% of us have a higher rate of attempted suicide and self-harm. And 50% of us are in recovery for substance abuse or the prison inmate population. Bad. And if you're interested in this subject and you want to learn more about dyslexia and you Google it today, what you will find is the most unimaginative, uninspiring content you've ever seen in your entire life. And considering dyslexia is one of the most creative disabilities out there, you would think that this would follow suit. But it doesn't. And it's been like this my entire life. And now I've come to terms with my disability. I've matured, and I want to come out of my shell. I've realized there's nothing I can identify with. There's no community. There's nothing creative, nothing unique. So this needs a change, a big change. And in my industry, this calls for one thing and one thing only: rebranding. But can you rebrand a disability? Absolutely. So I approach this like I do all my clients and all my projects. I look at the big picture. I start making the story, finding out who's the hero, who's the villain, how do I lead myself to success. And during this process, I found out something very ironic. We can't even spell our own disability. Let that sink in for just a second. And of course, here are some of my beautiful attempts over the years. And as hard as I try and as much as I write it, I write it 1,000,000 times, I just can't get it. So this is a perfect place to start. So let's change this. Let's make something sexy and simple, something that we can spell, something that represents us as creatives and as unique individuals. And if you're looking for the strongest part of anything, you start with the center, the core, which I believe is the cleanest solution to a new identity, which is LEX. Our best qualities: leadership, endurance, and exploration. Now, finally, there's a common identity with LEX that focuses on the genius over inability. One word, LEX, becoming the new and universal way to describe, explain, and identify as a dyslexic today in the 21st century. I believe the LEX movement has the opportunity to shift the dyslexic awareness paradigm for the good, so that the mainstream can understand and the LEX community can be finally confident to open up about their greatest strength as a result of their greatest weakness. We shouldn't have to feel ashamed of our unique way of thinking. No more stereotypes, no more judgment, because now we can come out of our shells and we can showcase our stories and our success and our creativity to the world, because reading and spelling does not define us. We have the opportunity, the option to open up the topic and bring it to high schools and bring it to universities and HR and big players to educate the future leaders, to understand that LEX can be a benefit to the classroom or to the team or to the office, if it's understood properly and if it's supported correctly. So let's celebrate these amazing stories of success that have shaped our society and culture and science and politics and everything around us. Let's open up the topic and spread the word that LEX can be more than what we all thought it could be. So I urge you all, don't judge a book by its cover, or reject an email or a CV because there's a misspelling or a grammar mistake. You never know. It might be the next LEX world changer. And next time you turn on the light or you pull out your phone, give our community just a little bit more credit. So I'm rebranding myself LEX. How about you? No more hiding. I am LEX. Are you with me? Thank you.